The humor is gone. Let's look into a different kind of dark, the kind that feels cold and inevitable. The preservationist Earth did not collect stamps or coins. Arthur collected silence. He lived in a house built deep into the limestone of the valley, where the walls were thick enough to swallow a scream. He was a taxidermist by trade, but his private basement held projects he never showed the public. He called them his still lifes. The processed girl on the table was named Sarah. She wasn't dead yet, which was the most important part of the preservation. Total stillness, Arthur believed, could only be captured if the nervous system was convinced it was already over. He worked with a needle thin enough to sew through a spider's silk. He began at the ankles, injecting a heavy, lead-based paralytic. "Don't cry," Arthur whispered, his breath smelling of formaldehyde. Tears ruined the luster of the cheek. Sarah's eyes were the only things that could move. They tracked him with a frantic, vibrating terror as he moved to his workbench. He picked up a jar of thick, amber-colored resin. To display Arthur didn't use glass cases. He turned people into furniture. In the corner of the room stood a floor lamp. It was a man, his spine fused into a rigid, upright column, his arms bent at impossible angles to hold the velvet shade. His skin had been treated until it looked like polished mahogany. He had been there for 3 years. He was still breathing through a microscopic tube hidden in his heel, though his mind had likely shattered months ago. Arthur approached Sarah with a silver scalpel. "You have such a delicate neck," he murmured. "You will make a perfect pedestal for the four." The final stitch began the mapping, drawing fine, blue lines across her skin where the structural supports would go. He worked without anesthesia. He needed the muscles to be taut, frozen in a permanent state of peak adrenaline. That was how you achieved the sheen. As he worked, the paralytic reached her chest. Sarah felt her lungs grow heavy, like they were filling with wet sand. She tried to blink, but Arthur had already applied the adhesive to her eyelids. "Stay," he whispered, pressing his thumb against her pulse. The sound of the house hours passed. The house was quiet, save for the wet snip of scissors and the low, rhythmic wheeze of the other furniture in the room. Arthur stood back to admire his work. Sarah was now side table. Her back was the surface, her limbs the legs, her face turned toward the floor so the guests wouldn't be distracted by the expression. He placed a heavy, brass clock on her spine. Tick, 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 underneath the resin and the polished skin. Sarah was screaming. But in Arthur's house, the only thing louder than the ticking of the clock was the sound of his own satisfied humming. He turned off the lights and left her in the dark. And then, in the absolute silence, Sarah felt a finger twitch. It wasn't hers, it was the man holding the lamp.